All right, all right. Let's do another one, shall we? So, we haven't been at this part of my gym yet. Main reason is sometimes you'll notice in the background there's a section that's darkened out. We have a specialty type of training in our facility that is actually a separate business, and coming up pretty soon in the next couple of months it's actually going to be in its own place. But I promised from the get-go I wouldn't use that equipment or have their label in the picture at all, since this is something special that I'm doing. But this turf is part of the gym, so I am going to use this area today. We've talked about plyometrics before. I don't remember if I talked about how special they are and important, especially in aging adults. Believe it or not, you'd think it would be a youthful thing, but you really want to keep your joints and all the connective tissue around those joints strong, and plyometrics does that. The main reason people get hurt when they're older is because they're always falling. Well, you're falling because your stability muscles are shot. But plyometrics really strengthens that so that you don't have a risk of fall or get off balance. So we're going to do a chest pass against the wall for our first circuit, a slam for your back. It's really full body, but we're doing it for back. And then we're going to do plyometric box jumps. Some of you, I've mentioned before about impact, and if your knees are shot, it's not worth it. That's just something you're going to have to deal with. You can do squats instead, a leg press, whatever you want. Some of you have never done jump ups before, and you'll be nervous. I don't know what you have at your facility or what you have available, so it's hard to coach you on this. But like at our facility, we have tons of random different pads, and you can stack them anything from as little as a 3-inch box jump to I think it goes to 42 or 43 inches. So whatever you need. But start little, gain your confidence, and then once your confidence is there, start upping it a little bit, even if it's 3 inches at a time or 6 inches at a time. You'd be surprised what you're capable of doing. Most people really surprise themselves once you get over that fear. But let's get started, okay? So, don't get too far away unless you want to just let it hit the floor each time, but get close enough to be able to catch it. Notice I got a real stable stance, like I'm going to do a squat or jump or something. Feet forward, core engaged. My center of gravity is a little bit forward, so when it comes back on me, it doesn't knock me back. And with as much force as you can, slamming into that wall. There we go. These also get you winded. Don't be surprised if you have to take breaks in between some of this stuff. Now, on these slams, I'm not just dropping it. You see people do that. That's wrong. You slam. And notice I went back into a hinge pattern like I'm doing a deadlift almost. It's part of a jump pattern. That's what you want in this if you really want to do this effectively. Don't hit yourself in the chin like I just did. Now, you might not have access to some of this stuff, and that's okay. Just get creative. I don't know what to tell you against the wall. If you don't have a concrete wall to use or a ball that bounces as far as chest pass goes, you may have to do some sort of power push-up instead, or even just throws and then keep running up to it. But you probably have sandbags or something you can use, and those work, especially for the slams. It's just harder because you have to pick it up afterward. But there's those two. Now I'm going to do jump ups. 24 inches, not a big deal. I can probably do 43, but for the purpose of teaching, I'm not trying to show off. Now, jump ups, you're not going to do 15. You might be lucky to get 8. Otherwise, you'll overdo it. You'll probably catch the edge, lose your footing, and hurt yourself. I'll do one more. There you go. First circuit in this workout done, and it's probably the hardest. So I'll see you guys in a minute for the next round. Alright, so second circuit of this workout is push-ups on the RIP 60. I've used this multiple times. You guys know I'm a fan of the suspension training. Body weighted stuff is really good for you. You do push-ups, something called a bridged row, and I'll show you that. It's hard to explain until I show you. And then we're doing step-ups on a really high bench. Some of you guys might not be able to do this. That's fine. Again, do what you can handle. Know your body. But in the fitness industry, there's been a huge shift over the last couple of years. Instead of focusing on just strength so much, especially when the people buying training these days are aging adults. You don't see 20-year-olds buying training unless their parents paid for it. The focus is on mobility, because as we get older, you lose mobility, and even just getting out of a chair, or even worse, getting up off the floor, some people can't do it. And who cares how strong you are if you can only move at a 30-degree range of motion? You're going to impress me if you can do the same weight off of a really deep squat or a deep bench or something like that. So mobility is very important, not just because of the aging adults, but it really should have been a focus. Believe it or not, powerlifters have had it right all along when it comes to a lot of stuff. I wish I had known that a lot sooner. But let's get started. So normal push-up, nothing crazy. In fact, I'm going to move this because I need it higher for our bridged row here in a moment. This will look really easy for the push-up. I just don't want to take the time to move it up and down a bunch of times because we're going to need it this high for that bridged row. So this is a little bit easy. That's okay. For the purpose of teaching, I'm going to leave it that way. You can go a little bit deeper if your body can handle it on something like this, because it is just a push-up. It's not weight behind it other than body weight. And your joints should be able to handle your body weight. Especially if you've been doing this up till now. By the time you guys get to this point, especially if you're doing these workouts multiple times like you should be, like I've talked all along, because it's a neurological learning process, not just a physical one. By the time you get to this workout today, you ought to be a pro doing push-ups on this thing. So, and if you're not, it's because you're not doing all these workouts multiple times before moving on. So please keep that in mind and keep doing that. Now we're going to do a bridged row. So, get directly under it, feet in place, bridge, and row. The only thing really harder than this version were if I put my feet up on something. But this is way harder than just the typical upright leaning back and rowing. But again, you should be at a point, even if you're not doing a ton of these, you should be at a point where you can do this one because you've been doing all these multiple times and you've built that strength up. So hopefully that's the case. Now, I'm not being hard on you out of being mean. It's tough love. I want what's best for you. So, you'll notice how high this is. My knee is considerably above my hip. But doing this, even if it's just with body weight, you can add weight. But even if it's just body weight, this is more important than stepping up on that bench over there with a bunch of weight. This is more impressive. Again, I'm not going to do a bunch of these. It's not leg day for me. However. And there's ways to modify stuff, because you can technically do bench jump ups even on, say, the plyo boxes that I had in the back. So you can set different levels that way. Keep that in mind. This is the second circuit of this workout. We'll be back to the third one in just a moment. Alright, hopefully you guys can see me okay. This will be the third and final circuit of this workout. Again, most of the time it's bicep, tricep, ab, most of the time. That's what it is today. We're going to do just a basic cable curl. These machines, you may or may not have access to something like this. This is a free motion showcase gym. That's why I love it. Most trainers love free motion equipment. Cable equipment is some of the best you could use because you get the benefit of free weights with the safety of the machine. And most of these pieces, even something like a simple chest press machine, which I think I've showed you before, I did 3 different exercises on it. And I'm talking like chest, back, and ab, not 3 different chest exercises, because that's obvious. You can do regular, decline, incline. This model in particular is called live axis. The pulley moves with you, so the line of force and line of tension kind of follows you. It works better with the body. You won't see them that much. We even only have 2 of these here, but they're pretty cool. So we're going to do curl first. Again, full range of motion. Work on them guns. Curls for the girls. I don't say that, but I've heard it. Alright, that's alright. So this one, and you could have done this with the biceps too, but you can either do standard or you can hold it like a hammer and do hammer curls. Either one's fine. I'll do hammer since I already switched it, but again, limited range of motion. Hopefully you guys can see the pulleys kind of following me. Alright. Now we're just going to do an alternating, I wonder if you guys can see me, an alternating ball crunch. I don't know if I've done this with you guys or not. You're essentially just doing a ball crunch, but we're elevating your feet. You're not going towards the knee that's lifting. You're still just crunching straight, but you're elevating 1 foot at a time. So it focuses your anti-rotators to engage. So rather than an active rotation, your anti-rotation. I've probably talked about it before, but your core was designed as a stabilizer, not as a primary mover. There's nothing wrong with doing crunches and all that, moving all over the place, but it was designed more as a stabilizer for probably 80% of the time. So, while it is nice to do a crunch like this, challenging the anti-rotation, isometrically basically, is good because that's what your body was designed for throughout most of your core. And think about it simpler. It's easy to say that, oh yeah, the core in my, because your core is stabilization. It's not one muscle group. So it's easy to recognize that the stabilizers in your ankle flex to keep your ankle stable so it can function the way it needs to. But most people don't think about this part of your core being stabilizers too, but it is. That's its primary function. So doing planks, anti-rotation drills, things where you're just working isometrically is actually more beneficial to your core than even movements. So just keep that in mind. Work it into your routine. That way you have variety. It's good to do both, but don't think that a stabilization exercise is any less effective for your core than a movement one is. It's actually more effective. So I love you guys. I hope you got a lot out of this workout. Give me 2 to 4 sets of this routine I just did, and I'll see you next time.